Gotta catch 'em all. It is a powerful tagline. It's probably responsible for getting a lot of kids addicted to Pokemon, including me. Yeah, it's pretty damn good. As an adult though, just stopping and looking at it, getting a Pokemon is actually a pretty significant investment. For starter, there are version-exclusive Pokemon, meaning you don't have a choice, you need to get both versions of the game. Next, you have the unique save file choices. You know, those times where the game asks you what Pokemon you want, and then you pick one. The problem is, you are locked out of whichever Pokemon you didn't pick, which also forces you to play the game several times. The worst offenders are the starters and the evolutions, because they force you to play the game 3 times. Basically, you're forced to play through both versions at least once, and one other version twice minimum, if not more. The reason for that is pretty simple. It is to incentivize trading. Now, it makes more sense for version-exclusive Pokemon. They're not that hard to get or find or catch. But the moment you start looking at the unique Pokemon, it doesn't make sense at all. Why would anybody trade a unique Pokemon, like their starter? They're usually the most powerful Pokemon, and also the ones you end up being emotionally attached to. And trading does not actually get us closer to getting all the Pokemon. I mean, we're giving one away to get one in return, so there's no net loss or gain. Well, turns out, it does get us closer to completing the Pokédex. Because the logic of the Pokédex is flawed. It doesn't actually keep track of which Pokemon the player currently has, but which Pokemon the player had at any point in time. For example, let's say we start the game and pick Bulbasaur. It then evolves into Ivysaur and Venusaur. We now have 3 Pokemon in our Pokédex, but in actuality, we only have one, the Venusaur. We can go even further. Let's say we get Abra and evolve it into Kadabra. Then we trade with someone for a Graveler and then trade back. Both Gravelers and Kadabra evolve, and everybody's got the Pokemon they want. Well, at the end of this, the Pokédex will say we have caught 8 Pokemon, when in actuality we only have 2, Venusaur and Alakazam. And the person we traded with will have Kadabra and Alakazam caught, and they might not even have any of them anymore. If anybody, and I mean anybody, wanted to actually catch them all, they would and should ignore the Pokédex and get all the Pokemon. And that person is gonna be me. That's right, we're getting every single Pokemon in the game. That actually has a name. It's called the Living Pokédex. There are several issues with going for a Living Pokédex. Like I've said before, we have to play through the games several times for the choices. The starters, the fossils in Mount Moon, the Fighting Dojo, and the Eevee line. Also, and more importantly, there are no eggs in Generation 1. Which means we need to get each Pokemon as many times as its evolutions. For instance, for Dragonite, we need to catch 3 Dratinis. For fossils, we need to go through Mount Moon 4 times. And for starters, that's right, we need to go and start the game over 9 times, making 9 different save files. Hopefully we don't have to finish the game 9 times, but it's still gonna take a bit of time. Also, we have to evolve these Pokemons. For the case of Dragonite, we can catch 3 Dratinis, but then we're gonna have to evolve 2 of them into Dragonair and a final one into Dragonite. Which means we will have to do a lot of level up evolutions. Finally, it is very time consuming. I mean, we could go through each area, get all the Pokemon that are available there, and then move forward, but that would be very, very inefficient. Let's take, for example, Pikachu, the franchise's mascot. The earliest one we can catch is in Viridian Forest, with a 5% encounter rate, which is pretty low, and it is surrounded by a lot of very common insect Pokemon. If we wait, we can actually catch a Pikachu in the abandoned power plant, and this time it has a 25% encounter rate, and it is surrounded with rarer electric Pokemon, including the only Zapdos we can catch. So all these hurdles makes planning the most important part of the challenge. Of course, we could just boot up and start right away, but at some point we will have to stop and check for Pokemon encounter rates and where to find so-and-so. And at that point, we're wasting time. I mean, if we're gonna check, we might as well check for things beforehand. The solution to this issue is simple. We need to make a tool to help us plan. Alright, well, it's not that simple, because making the tool is not as simple as snapping your fingers, but, well, also we don't necessarily need to make a tool. Okay, listen, it's just fun. I like it. Not only can it help preparation tremendously, provide info mid-challenge and keep track of progress, but it's also just very enjoyable to me. So, what does this tool need to do? Well, like I said, it needs to keep track of all the caught Pokemon. The Pokédex is pretty unreliable, so we're gonna need a better Pokédex. Next, it needs to record all Pokemon catch data, that is their location, evolution type, encounter rate, everything that has to do with catching Pokemon, we need to record. Then, we need to be able to search for specific Pokemon or conditions within the catch data. Let's say we only want Pokemon catchable in a single area, or only the Pokemon that evolve through leveling up or using a stone. That information will allow us to see the big picture and write our guide with all the information. Finally, it needs to be able to save all that information as a guide, a simple step-by-step process, and then actually save that progress. So, I made a website. See, I'm a web developer, so I'm just using the toolset I have. And also, like I said, it's pretty fun for me. Without going too much into technical detail, I just made a website whose main purpose is to access the database, which I populated by hand with all of the Pokemon encounter data. The most difficult part was to make that database and made sure it had all the necessary data ordered the correct way. But I managed to do it, and it allowed me to make any query I wanted, including even a theoretical best way to catch any Pokemon, making my job that much easier. It's not perfect, of course, but it's a good starting point. So, how do you catch all Pokemon as efficiently as possible? Well, I have no idea, because I had no prior knowledge. There's no guide on how to write a Pokemon guide, so I had to start from scratch and figure things out on my own. Basically, I looked at all Pokemon and separated them into 4 categories. The first one is one-of-a-kind Pokemon. Pokemon that are unique encounters, like Mewtwo or the legendary birds, and the choices, like the starters or the fossil, etc. These Pokemons are very important because they dictate the critical path. We cannot skip them. Where they are, we will need to go at some point. Taking into account all of these Pokemon forms the skeleton of our journey. Second, we have rare Pokemon. They are rare because they have either a low encounter rate or are only available in a single area. What we do is we check the best place to get them along our way. For rare Pokemon who are only available in a single place, they kind of become de facto one-of-a-kind because we need to go where they are, so they also form the critical path. Third, we have all the evolutions, through level ups, using stones, trading. Those can be done at any time, which is great. Although, we still need to pay attention to level up evolutions. We try and catch them earlier in their journey to shorten the grind, because there's gonna be a lot of level up evolution as stated earlier. And finally, all the remaining Pokemon. For these, we just go from the least to most common and try to group them all up in a single area. Since they're not going to be difficult to catch anyway, we might as well try and minimize our movement. You may notice that I didn't mention any version exclusivity so far. Well, it's because the version we play on does not actually matter. As we established, we need to play through both games anyway, so we can just think of our journey as one very long one that will take us through both versions. The most important aspect to consider in making our guide is the order of areas we visit. Because we go through the same area multiple times, we should only try and catch a Pokemon during our last visit, because we could encounter that Pokemon before our last visit, so there's no real point in grinding for it. Let's take Paris in Mount Moon. Paris has a 5% encounter chance, but the thing is, Mount Moon is a mandatory area through the game, meaning we'll have to go through Mount Moon several times. There's no point in grinding the first time we go through Mount Moon because we'll be there more than once. Also, the rare Pokemon are done earlier, because low encounter rates means a lot of running around and encountering a lot of Pokemon until we get the one we want, which means more chances to catch the more common Pokemon first on our way to get the rare one. After careful consideration of all of these varying factors, I was able to write and finish the guide. So how does it go? Well, here's the path through the games. First, we determine a main version where we will store all the Pokemon, and a side version we will use for restarts. I have chosen Pokemon Blue as my main version because Red is clearly the more popular one of the two, and I'm kind of a hipster. But for real, Squirtle used to be my favorite Pokemon as a kid, and Pokemon Blue is the version I played back then. It doesn't actually matter what version we pick. Then, we play the story on the main version. We get all the badges, beat the Elite Four, do all that stuff. Next, we go through the side version several times, trying to get every single unique Pokemon. On our way, we also get all the version exclusive of that side version. After that, we get all of these Pokemons on the main version, and then we have the cleanup process, where we catch all the remaining Pokemon in the main version and take care of the specific evolutions at the same time. Now, I have planned as much as possible, but it's not perfect. At all. A huge part of Pokemon is the encounter chance. The game is dictated by luck, meaning we will have to deal with lucky or unlucky encounters on the fly and adapt to it. Thankfully, writing the guide prepared me. I now have a good knowledge of the locations and where Pokemons can be caught. There are other points I have not detailed but had to consider, like the catching mechanics and strategy, getting evolved Pokemon directly as opposed to catching lower level Pokemon and then evolving them, or getting Mew, for example. But I will only go into detail when those points become relevant. Don't worry, I had to think about them, and some of them were a headache. But I talked a lot, and we've not started playing yet, so at some point, we need to realize that we are as prepared as we can be, and that now, there is only one thing left for us to do. Start.